Hi, and welcome to this video tutorial on revealing my higher purpose. This activity, this assignment is here to help you get really clear about what your life purpose is and what we sometimes refer to as your leadership life purpose. So you may be asking, why is it so important to have a life purpose? Well, it's important to have a clear life purpose to help guide you in all kinds of decision making. From a leadership point of view, it can affect you in different ways. You can affect simply the kinds of opportunities you go after and want to have in your life. It can affect promotions or transfers or businesses you start or education you pursue, all kinds of things that will impact your career. In addition, it can impact how you go about making decisions as a leader, working with others, how you work with them, how you decide, how you let others decide, how you behave in certain situations. Your purpose will help guide you. It's not the only thing that's going to help you, but it will have an impact because you'll be clear about what you really want your life, and more specifically in this case, what you want your leadership life to be really all about, what you want to be experiencing and moving through. So what we're going to do is walk through the steps that you need to complete in order to arrive at a crystal clear leadership life purpose. So we'll move on from here. This is simply the title page, and that's very straightforward. So let's move on and have a look at it. The majority of the work is going to focus on 45 questions that begin here and take you through different simple reflections about what your life has consisted of so far, where you're connecting to things, what energizes you, where you found meaning for yourself. And none of these questions should take a lot of time. 45 questions may sound like a lot, but really it might only be just a few minutes for each one. So you want to make sure you pace yourself, maybe answer 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 questions at a time, and then take a break. It depends on how you like to work through things. But you want to be approaching this in a lighthearted way, in an open-minded way, and allow yourself to be present with each question. And remember, I know it seems like a lot, 45 questions, and some of them will overlap. Sometimes the same thing is being asked a different way, because we don't want to fall into the trap of assuming we know everything before we do it, because then we'll end up stuck. The left brain wants to control everything, so what we want to do is really elicit the right brain, elicit the creativity to really tap into what's really important to you. So I invite you to really give yourself permission to reveal what's truly important to you with each of these questions and answer them as completely as you can. And you will be amazed at the kinds of insights you'll be able to glean from these questions that will allow you to create a really crystal clear and simple, because simple is always best, that's what we'll remember, simple life purpose statement that will support you in your life going forward. So starting with the first paragraph here, we basically say that the following are additional questions to help you hone in on your purpose for your life. Remember that when working to uncover your life's purpose, it is important to be aware of and include the information you have built up so far in this process. And this is going back to your strengths and values assignment and other things we've talked about. So you begin with list what you have ever dreamed of doing or being now and in the past, especially as a child, before everyone's opinion seeped into your awareness, before our editor started getting into play, before maybe our parents or people we knew started telling us what we really should be doing. The next question, the things I'm good at doing come easily to me and for which I've always had a knack for are. Just jot down things in simple note form, what that means to you. What are you good at? Don't judge where this is going. Don't look at the questions as ultimate conclusions. This is about eliciting insight and data. And what you end up doing with the data at the end is something else entirely. Next question, I am skilled at doing. And these might be things that you've just learned along the way. So whether it's playing an instrument, and don't judge yourself about how good you are as an instrument or not. If you have some skill, just note it down. If you like to cook, you have other skills, there's all kinds of things you could put in here. So I'm skilled at doing, just jot down those things you're skilled at. Others would say I'm good at or an expert in. So what have other people told you that they notice in you? Have they noticed that you have a really great creative thinking ability? Do they notice that you like to draw? Maybe you call it doodling, but maybe other people see a certain talent there. The natural talents I have that I may not be using are, so just think about the kinds of things that you've liked to have done in the past, or maybe you do as a hobby, and have slowed down, and maybe you don't do as much. Maybe you say you don't have the time. Maybe you actually don't have the time because you have other priorities that are taking so much of your space right now. Just tap into that. If I had the opportunity to teach something, I could teach. Now, this doesn't mean that you want to teach it necessarily, but if you could, it doesn't matter what it is. If I was requested to teach something, I would want to teach. Now, this is a different question. It's not what you could teach, but more specifically, what would you want to teach? Now, be careful here because you may not know how to do the thing you want to teach yet. So allow yourself some latitude. What would I want to teach? Would you like to teach skydiving, but you never jumped out of an airplane before? Okay, that's something else. But if you would want to teach it, great. If you want to teach someone how to ski or snowboard, doesn't mean you're going to do it for a living. What we're doing is tapping into your creative interests. Someone could call me to get my insight or assistance with. You may know something or have a skill around something. Maybe you don't use it that much. My favorite things to do in the past before I got too busy or caught up with life were think about interests, hobbies, other things that you haven't had a chance to spend as much time with. My favorite things to do now are, so these are about your hobbies and interests. And even if you don't have a lot of time, maybe you haven't done your favorite thing in a while, just note it here. My favorite topics of conversation are, what do you like to talk about? Things that really interest you, that you really love to have deep conversations about, or just insightful conversations or engaging conversations. The types of books I read or would read are, now depending on where you are in your life, if you're a student, maybe you're going to be reading an awful lot of stuff that relates to your courses, and you don't have a lot of time for recreational reading. Or maybe you found something really interesting in the coursework you're doing that does really inspire you or interest you. Or maybe you read for a hobby. The online content I read or refer to is, or the magazines I read. So whatever blog posts or magazines or whatever you read online, and I would include podcasts in these, anything you like to listen to online, put these kinds of things in here. The next section we're calling Journey of the Heart. The next question is, these activities make my heart sing, give me a true feeling of joy whenever I engage in them, and raise my spirit. With these activities, I often lose track of time. So this might sound like an overlapping question with something you've answered before, but just allow yourself to answer it and let the repetition, if there is any, just be. Next question, what I find meaningful in my life is. Now this is anything you find meaningful. Maybe you have a dog or a cat or some other pet. Maybe it's a relationship with a sibling or a cousin or a close friend or another relationship or your parents or a hobby you have or some other activity that you engage with. Again, don't let the overlapping and repetition discourage you. Just do a data dump here and put it down. You may find that things in only a little bit overlap, but then the things that do overlap actually send you a message as to what's really important to you. So don't edit things here, just put it all in. My favorite things to do as a child were, the movies that inspire or move me are. So what movies do you like to watch to really create energy for you? But don't underestimate the things that may simply get you thinking or reminiscing or reflecting. What makes me feel great about myself is, think about perhaps things in your life or things you know about yourself, parts of your character, your skill set, your value system, whatever. What gives me a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment is, what excites me. Then we get to another section here that we call regrets. Now, we don't want to live our life full of regrets, but sometimes we can just reflect back, and even if we don't feel that you have any regrets, you can treat this as perhaps things that have happened in your life that maybe you could have done better or could have done differently. Don't hang on the word regret, just stuff that maybe you could go back if you could do a little bit of a correction, that kind of thing. Also included this is thinking ahead in order to have a regret-free life. So number 20, what would you regret not fully doing, being, or having in your life? Why do you believe wishes never came true for you? What held you back? Are there times where you felt like hoping for something really amazing for yourself and putting some effort in to get there, might not work out for you. Just treat this as a reflection question. The rocking chair test. This is really important. This is the kind of thing that you think ahead to when you're very, very, very old. It's the image of sitting in a rocking chair reflecting back on your life. What you want to do is write a story here, and you have a couple of pages to work with. But what I want you to do is really think about what your life must have been like to be able to sit in your rocking chair as a very, very old person, and thinking about your life brings a smile to your face. So we ask a number of questions here that we want you to answer. What would you want said about you at this stage in your life? What would you want to be known for? What are you most proud of? What are you leaving behind as a legacy, both as a leader and a human being? What do others truly appreciate about who you have been for them? What are you truly feeling content about? And what has brought you true peace in your life? So answer all of those questions in this section, and you can use a combination of paragraphs and bullet points. And this is just the extra page for the rocking chair test. To do this properly, you're probably going to need like one full page at least. Next section, rebooting from where you are at today. So wherever you're at in your life, take a little snapshot. If I could start fresh with no past and a totally clean slate and live my life over, this time I would, and complete the sentence with as many ideas as you have. What will it take for you to finally feel truly happy, truly successful, and that you live fully in this lifetime on your own terms? You might get some clues from the rocking chair test. You might have some other ideas. Guiding stars. This is a great section. So who inspires you? We want specific names, or maybe titles, or something really, 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 really specific. And we're looking at things like authors, musicians, artists, teachers, politicians perhaps, social leaders, business leaders, you name it, family members, friends. If you could have written any book, which would you have loved to write and why? So think about a book that you really loved. Doesn't matter if it's a childhood book or something you read later on in your life. What is that one book that you, if you could wave a magic wand, you would have liked to have written? Now, you may say to yourself, but I don't want to write a book. Just give yourself permission to imagine. This can be a powerful section, learning from life challenges and lessons. What are some of the life challenges, hardships, issues, obstacles, and pain you have faced? And I have in notes here that this is confidential, so be open and honest and clear for your own well-being. Just write down in note form, what are some of the challenges you faced? And maybe it's been very painful, maybe it's been less so, but don't judge it. No one else is going to read this. Which of these were you able to overcome? Maybe you're still dealing with a particular challenge. Maybe you have some kind of a health issue or something else. Other things you may have been able to deal with. So just write down, what have you been able to overcome? If you haven't been able to overcome the specific thing you talked about, don't worry about it. Just leave it blank. And how did you overcome it or them? But really try to identify something that you've been able to overcome. And even it's the simplest thing, it's amazing how powerful a lesson it can be. How do you believe you could help others overcome similar issues? So when you move through something, we learn a lot. Now the question is, how do you think you could use that learning to help someone else? Next section, what are you passionately for, in support of, and if not one of those, what are you possibly against? So the first question is, what excites you about the world or about people? What cause or aspect in people do you strongly believe in? What would you stand up and fight for? What angers you about people or what's going on with the planet? What would you stand up and fight against? Is there something that really gets you going that you'd love to see stopped? If you could talk to any group of people and shake them up and wake them up, who would you talk to and what would your message be? This next section, number 37, all we're asking you to do here is restating your grand contribution from the strengths and values work you did before. So just make notes here about what that grand contribution is. What are 5 careers, businesses, or ways of living you would like to try? Give yourself permission. Google stuff online if you're not sure. Don't think about whether you have qualifications or not. You're going to get paralyzed if you keep analyzing it. So don't do that. Just take a leap. If you've always wanted to be an astronaut, if you've thought about wanting to go to Mars, just write it down. Don't be concerned about it being realistic or not, all that stuff. I mean, keep it within the realm of existence, but give yourself permission to just stretch and dream. Why did you choose these? What elements do you like from each? So make some notes about it. What would you do if you absolutely could not fail? That's a classic question that a lot of people have asked, and I think it's a really powerful one. What type of work or business do you believe would help you learn and become the person you want to be? What would you like to see created in the world? What kind of legacy or gift would you like to leave people and the planet? And the last three, what do you feel the world needs that you might be able to make a contribution toward? Is there a person or company whose mission or vision excites you? If so, who is it and what is that mission or vision? Whose career do you admire and why? Now you're noticing some of these questions touch on things you think, oh, have I answered that before? You probably answered parts of it before, but we need to be really thorough here. So just allow your mind to go through it all and unload all of your insights. Now that we've answered all of those questions, we have a lot of data and insight and bits and pieces that we're not sure what to do with. But the point is that we're generating and creating more insight about what really makes us tick, what gives us energy and motivates us to really move into being all that we can be. So we now get to this section in where we start creating a clear purpose statement for yourself. And there's just some simple key steps, but they'll take some time. You're going to need to probably create several drafts, and there are ways you can kind of play around with it and clarify. First thing is you want to choose 1 to 5 verbs from the action word list, which I'm going to show you in a moment, that inspire or excite you. So let me show you what that looks like. As I mentioned, here is the action words list. So what we want to do here is scan the list. Don't get locked into an alphabetical logic thing. Just allow yourself to scan the whole list and identify 5 action words, essentially 5 verbs that stand out to you, that pop. Don't overthink this. Just trust your intuition here. Trust the scanning. As we're scanning, let's pick 5. Let's say we choose resolve, and our second one is develop. And the third one we see is diagnose, achieve, and prioritize. At this point, we just let it be. So these are the 5 verbs that stood out to us. You're not making a deep commitment to but this is where you want to start. And once you have the 5 verbs, we're going to go back now and look at the next step. Who or what do I assist? So what we're talking about are, people in general, maybe a specific organization, a specific group of people. Do you want to work with babies, children? Do you want to work with teens, at-risk youth, families, students, the poor, the elderly, disabled, handicapped? Do you want to be in athletics or work with athletes, artists, the arts, performers, media, businesses, entrepreneurs, and it goes on and on from there. So just make a few notes about who do I really want to be assisting, or if you like the word serve, who do I want to be serving? I don't mean about being a servant. I mean, who do I wish to serve in the highest way? Then the next thing you want to look at is, what is my goal for the world or who I help? What is the value, benefit, or the end result I create? So think about who you wish to serve and what you feel the highest and most specific benefit or benefits you could possibly give them, and make a few notes. And again, go back to the questions that you've answered. Those 45 questions will give you information. And once you have these notes together, you want to start drafting your life purpose. And it should be a very simple, very clear sentence that really articulates what you feel your purpose is for your life as a leader. So they give some examples here. And so the first one would be, my purpose is to educate and inspire people to live in their higher selves based on courage, purpose, and joy. Another one might be, I create a more peaceful, joyful world by educating people to live in their higher self. Another example might be, my purpose is to inform and shelter women so they can protect themselves from abuse. And there's so many iterations. At the end of this, I'll give you a few examples of what a purpose statement can look like. But note that when you're looking at examples, there can be a tendency to want to use somebody else's language. So be careful. I'll post a few. One of them is actually mine. I won't tell you which one it is. But when you look at them, just see that there's a lot of different ways to write these. This is one kind of formula or structure that tends to work for a lot of folks, but it doesn't have to follow this exactly. Just make sure that it is clear. You don't use language that sounds okay because you don't know the right word. Try to find the right words. The words matter. The next couple of pages are worksheets that will give you some space to work on your purpose statement and play around with different iterations of it. This is one purpose worksheet, and of course you have a second one, and both of the pages can simply be used to play around with your rough work, and in the kit that you have you can work on the back of the page, whatever. This is where you get a chance to process things out. Here we have a few examples of life purpose statements that others have created. As I said, one of these is mine. I won't tell you which one, see if you can guess. But really don't use this as something you're just going to copy and cut and paste, because it won't serve you at all. I mean, this is your life we're talking about. So use it as a way to see what some of these things can look like and sound like. They aren't perfect. Some could probably use with a little bit of work. Some are probably just right. The most important thing is that they have an idea or ideas that are very clear for the person who creates it, and it really is something that they keep coming back to help guide them. The first one is, my purpose is to create, nurture, and maintain an environment of growth, challenge, and unlimited potential for all those around me. My purpose is to enliven, encourage, and re-inspire the love of music for children in public schools. I really love this one because the person was so specific about who they were going to serve and in what context. You may not have that so specifically. Doesn't matter. It's just a great example of somebody who really is locked in. My purpose in life is to be a mom, to empower independence, self-reliance, and confidence in others through being a positive, supportive role model. My life purpose is to live and mentor an authentic, adventurous, spiritual life while being a catalyst for positive change. My purpose in life is to grow continually and use my wisdom to help others grow through teaching and encouraging them while making a difference in their lives and the lives of those around them. My purpose in life is to serve others in a balanced and flexible manner in areas of health and in such a way that I get feedback on their improvement. And the last example we have here is, my purpose is to open inner doors, to support the unfolding of clarity that emerges from the discovery of our inner self. So there's some examples for you. Certainly if you have questions, I'm available. This is going to take not as much work as some of the other things we've done, but it will take just time, what we call soak time, as if you're taking a long hot bath. It just requires staying still and letting the warmth just kind of work on you. In the same way, you want to answer all of the questions as thoroughly as you possibly can, and let that percolate, let that bubble along, and help inspire you to really find the right language that really describes the purpose that's really right for you.